Hello and welcome to another night shift. My name is Yazil, and today we want to see how to build a chat system, and for that we have a look into UIs, and that's the thing we want to build today. You see here is a scroll bar, here's an input field, and if you scroll here, the text will be shown here into the scroll view. So I like it when I direct manipulate here our hierarchy and add stuff in there. And I'll show you later on how to do that on the fly or with C# script. But first of all, let's stop that. And you see here, what I did is I just clicked here and made a new UI, and I said it's in canvas. Oh no, not in canvas, sorry about that. Delete. UI panel, and I positioned the panel with Shift and Alt, and I said here in the edge, I want to have it just here, and the size of 300 to 500. Let's scroll a bit out so it's just there. You see we got a similar thing here. If you want to have it a little bit spacing like this is, and go and position that sec here, you see it's gone here, and if you say 10, 10 or 20, 20, it's on the position I did it, so no big deal here. For demonstration, we going to put that there. So we got it a little bit up here, and the next we want to add is a background. If you want to have a background, I got one here. I'm thinking about adding that to my website, but I'm not sure about the rights there, so I have to look into that later on. So the panel, it's in a moment a little bit transparent, sorry. So you get the alpha value up, and you see that's the basic window we got here. Let's move that a little bit in the middle. So the next we need one of these input fields. So just go ahead and say UI and input field. There's our field, and we basically do the same and anchor that to the edge here and go for whatever. I choose something like that. No, that's too much. Let's do 30. And the width like 260 or something. You feel free to do that as you like, and position it as you want to do it. And in the next part we want to have an UI scroll view, and since we don't need the horizontal, we just need the vertical, we go into our scroll view here and delete the horizontal bar, and just the same, click on the scroll view, sorry about that, click on the scroll view, click here, Shift and Alt, position it into the point you want to have it, and going for like 50-50, no, 70 is an organized value. And maybe you want it not direct there, just 20 or 30. And you say the width is like 300. And you just see where it goes, like this one. So this is the scroll view. That means we have to have something in it. And what we want to have in it is this text here. So we have under our viewpoint a new text field and the content you just delete. And we go for text, and we also going to position it on the edge here, going for like 5 out. No, 50 is too much. 5, and we're going with a width from 280 or 90. Let's say 90. No, it's too much. You see here it went over the scrolling item, so 70 is just before. And the height, let's say we want to have a height from 2000. So that means our scroll view only shows what is in the scroll text at this point, and we want to scroll these text in our view scene. So we go and into our scroll view and going here and say, well, since I have more items there, we're going to put these in there. And well, let's see if it works. We go in our text and just copy it a couple times. Then we want our text to start at the beginning of the line, and we want to have that on the button. So every new line we want to have on the button, and it scrolls up. So that's there. And if we gonna run that, okay, of course we are not connected. If we run that, you see it's scrolling. And if we go into our scene and scroll a little bit out, you see our text window is way larger than the viewpoint. So how we do that, it's called masking. So stop that again. And if we go here in our viewpoint, there is a mask script, and let's go there. If we hit on our mask, you see it's a little bit lightning. So for the mask, you always have to have these masks script, and you have an image down there which defines what is in the mask, or how big the mask, or what should be shown. For example, we could do a circle here or something like that, and only would show what's in the circle at the point you scroll through that. So let's delete that. That's our basic panel here. We got rid of that, and we go back to the original I made a couple minutes before. And you see here I changed the colors a little bit, made it the handle red. It's free up to you what you want to do that, or the colors here. For example, if you want to have a different color here, you go into your text field, chat text field, and you going to manipulate the color here, like this little pink, and now it's the color is pink. So the next thing we want to care of is if we go here. Yeah, so you see in the moment it's just in the edge here, and if I manipulate the window, it resizes automatically, and that's an easy feature. You go into your canvas, and you have here this canvas scaler, and you say just not constant pixel, you say scale with window size, and I'm have the reference resolution of an HD screen, which is 1922 or 1080, so it's 1080p. And I say match with height, and the match is .5. It's just a value. You can experiment with that if you want to have that. And automatically, if you resize your game window, everything in the UI down here will be resized also. So that's easy done. And next, I want to show you how to do that with scripting. As you noticed, if you go here and add something like the panel or whatever, it automatically generates a canvas and an event system. So these both we know already, but if we don't have that while we did it here, and we just want to do that into a script, I going to just save that. Going to another scene. It's this one. No, this one. And you see here's nothing in there. And if we start that, a window will be generated in the canvas and chat window, input output in an event system. So for that I have here on my chat test an start UI script and a chat script. So let's go and stop that and go into our scripts I have here. So that's for the first the start UI script, and we just go here and make ourselves a variable. It's my canvas. My event system, we need that there, yeah. Okay. But you can also generate that down there. So you look into, or in the start position, you're going for a check canvas. And for that to work, you're going to include the Unity Engine event system and the Unity Engine UI. And you're gonna look in this start check canvas function, and you look if you can find the canvas. If you have that, you do nothing. If you don't have that, you generate a new object, you call it canvas, and you add a component, the Rect Transform, and you add the component canvas. Also, you're going to the render mode and the pixel perfect set to true, and going for the scaler, which we did before also, and set the scaler to scale with screen size, and set the value to 0.5, and set the reference resolution to our 180p. So also you add a graphic raycaster, and that's basically the same you're going to do with the event system. You're going to add the event system as a game object, add the scripts, set some things as for default values, and going to add the standard input module. So basically it generates the items for you, and after that you fire up an event, and in the event you have the value of your canvas. So you know how to do that. You got a delegate and an event. So you got a public delegate void start UI ready event. My object is in canvas, and you going to public static event start UI ready, which you call down here UI ready with the canvas in here. Of course, there's a little bug here, but since I don't use that, if you don't have the canvas, or if you have the canvas, you have to fill your variable myCanvas with the value. So you have to set underscore myCanvas is equals to find game object canvas and so on and so on. You know that how to work that. And the next is the chat. You have in the function awake. Of course, you have also the UI engine UI, and the Yazil UI, which is here in our start UI. It's the namespace Yazil UI, and in the awake function, you add yourself to the event, and if the event is fired up, we have a function, or it's init chat, and in the init chat you just generate the stuff. For the variables, I got a couple here, including my background sprite, and here at first you going to get your sprite into the variable, and it's quite easy. You have to have a resources folder, and we're going to load a sprite out of the resources folder, which has a folder image, UI, and resource border. So why we don't do the border.jpg or whatever it is? No, we just, since we load in sprite, let's go to our border and go here in our sprite editor, and you see here is the name of your sprite, border, and that's the thing you want to load. Also, if you want to load stuff out of the resources folder, it's lowercase. Unity is not able to do uppercase folders, so you have to have that. As you see here, it's a couple of I, and here it's lower, and the UI is also lower, while it's here upper. And then you just can fill out the values. I let that open for you a sec. We don't go into everything here. One thing I want to show you or make you aware of something. If you don't find the option here, let's say this one, the chat window rect, so the pivot point, and you don't see that. Let's see and start that up. And you got here your canvas and here your window point, and you don't know which position or what this function is called. You go here and go to debug mode, and in debug mode you see here the right variables for everything. So if you're missing something, you can always go into debug mode and find the right name for these for example anchored position and stuff like that. It's different here than in the scripts. So if you don't find something, go into debug, look for the right names, and you can manipulate that with the C# scripts. And basically you have to build everything in there, and you can manipulate the color and something like that all on the C# script as you manipulate that direct. So that's just a hint in between. Of course, you can do that with drawing boxes direct into the screen, but I don't like that. For example, if you want to drag and drop your chat window around the screen, it's just easier if you have it in game objects than just boxes. Yeah, well, for the last thing I want to do in this tutorial, we want to drag and drop these windows so we can move it on the window. So let's close that and go back to our start. So in our start, we got here our chat window, and there we want to add a panel. Just go here, right click UI, add panel, and in the panel we want to get the pivot point up here, so it's up in our window, and we just go here and set the alpha to 0, so we don't have anything shown here. And after that we make a new C# script. I called it drag panel, and you add that to this item. So I made it beforehand, and if you see that, what we do is we calculate the point where the mouse is to the pivot from the window, and we want to know the Rect Transform from the panel itself is easier, and we want to have the Rect Transform from the whole UI window, which is the canvas here and the window there. So we fire that up in an awake function, and we see if my canvas, which I generated here, is the get component in parent canvas. So since we are, let's see, down here, and that's somewhere apparent, we want to see if we got a canvas. If we have, so it's not null, we want to have the Rect Transform of these canvas, and we want to have the Rect Transform of the parent itself. So this is here, so we want to have from the parent, which is this chat window. And if we don't have anything like a canvas or something like that, or we renamed that or whatever it is, we just want to bail out and don't generate an error. This update function we don't need, we delete that. And we want to use the Unity event system, so we want to use these stuff in here, and for that you need to Unity engine.event system implement here as a using, and then you can use two functions. There are more in that, but we don't only use two. It's the pointed down handler and the drag handler. So if we click on the mouse button, we want to have this handler, and if we clicked and dragged it somewhere, we want to have these events also. And first of all, we start with the drag handler. If you never worked with that, you can just quick action that, and it will generate these functions for you, so you don't have to type that. And the first thing into the drag function, we want to make sure the panel we want to drag is on top of everything, and therefore it has to be the last sibling, and the function is easy. We have these Rect Transform, and we set it as last sibling, and it's on top of everything. And then we want to calculate on the button down our mouse to pivot vector, so we know the difference between our pivot point from the window, which is down here, and the mouse button we clicked position. So there's an easy function which is screen point to local point in Rectangle, and it just generates that for us. So it's in the out position. We got a local point. So We need a couple things there. The most we have, or we have everything we need. In the event data, everything is in. For example, the position where we clicked, and for the calculation we need the camera, and that is also in the event data. So just use these function. You put in a few or a couple things, and you get out a vector with the difference between the points. After that, we use the drag function, and if the event drag is happen, then we want to clamp the position points we get between the 0, 0 here and the XX there. And therefore we implement a new function, and I called it clamp panel points. And it's here, it's a vector 2, it gives a vector 2 back. So it's not void, it's vector 2, and it has an input, the data from the event. And we going here and set our base points to the data we set here, so it's data.position. And the next is we want to use the get world corners, and the world corners wants to have an 4 corners array, and so we need to generate one for us, and I called it canvas edges, 4 vector 3s in it, so it's the vector 1, 0, the vector 1, the vector 2, and the vector 3. And we use this function to get the corners of these canvas. And when we have them, we just clamp our data position here between these two, with the 0 and the 2 of the edges. So, for example, if your window is 1000 to 1000, these won't be 1000 and 1000 in the X and Y, and you want to clamp it between 0 and 1000 here. And then after you calculate that, you just give that back into your return panel point, and that we use here, and store that in our position point. And after that, all we need is the local point to calculate, and that is just again a Rect Transform utility. And this time we don't use the panel to drag, we use the canvas, and we use the position point we calculated. And again, we use the event data press camera, and the output of our vector 2 is the local point we generated here. And then after that, if that is true, we gonna set the local point position of our panel to drag to the local point, and we just get or subtract the mouse to pivot offset we just calculated in mouse pointer down. So that's basically all. It's just quite easy. Let's save that. Go here and again make sure on our drag panel there is the script, and we click on start. Of course, we're still not connected to a server, but as you can see, we can drag these windows around. So that's the first part of our chat stuff and a little UI. So if you liked it, as always, hit the like button. If you like it even more, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to share it, feel free to do so. And I'm coming next with the C# stuff to make this function and sending to server and stuff like that. So, happy night shift. See you around.